On one knee, Cam cut Lenny's ties and stammered an apology. They weren't really friends, so there was no relationship to repair, other than their working one. "I'm really sorry. I thought you were playing me." Lenny merely stared up at him, still not fully recovered from the sodium pentothal. But Cam had begun to notice that his stare was starting to turn into a glare. Cam stood and rubbed his face, half expecting to find egg on his hands after doing so. He owed Lenny more than an apology. Turns out the worst thing Lenny was guilty of was, well, pissing on himself. And even that was Cam's fault. Lenny had not lied to Cam, had not forged the painting, had not killed Paris, had not rammed them with a pickup truck, had not schemed to find the Ark of the Covenant. Using a chair, Lenny pulled himself up. "I have a change of clothes in the bathroom," he muttered, shuffling away. Rivka had gone back to the hotel, leaving Cam to clean up his own mess. So what next? Was it time to head back to Massachusetts? A weekend trip had turned into a week. At some point, he needed to get back to his law practice, especially because Lenny might not be so willing to pay Cam's fee in light of this morning's little adventure with a stun gun and truth serum. Not that Cam blamed him. Would Rivka follow him north? And did he want her to? He wasn't ready to make that decision yet, just as he wasn't quite ready to leave North Carolina. Answers, if any, were here. Not to mention, possibly, the Ark. Lenny looked at his bruised and swollen face in the graying mirror of his closet-sized office bathroom. "Well, that was no fun," he said grimly. But fun was not how he kept score. And in light of the fact that, an hour ago, he was faced with the threat of Cam outing him to the world, and a Mossad agent pulling out his fingernails, he felt pretty fortunate. He filled the sink with hot water, removed his urine-soaked pants and briefs, dropped them in, and added some liquid soap. He'd deal with them later. They were a small price to pay for the chance to see his opponent's cards. The Mossad, huh? Lenny hadn't seen that coming. But there was no doubt that the tall, striking woman was an operative. Civilians didn't carry sodium pentothal around with them. More to the point, civilians didn't size up people with the same cold, appraising stare she had fixed on him. Cam had even used her name, Rivka, a Hebrew name. If she was not Mossad, she should be. The Mossad being here opened the door to the Ark of the Covenant actually being in play. He blinked. Had the world's greatest historical treasure been in his backyard all this time, and he'd been oblivious to it? He shook his head. What an irony that would be. He wiped himself down with a wet towel and stepped into clean clothes. He still felt a little loopy, but it seemed to be passing. Not that he was in a rush. No doubt Thorne was in the next room, beating himself up, filled with remorse and guilt, trying to figure out a way to make it up to Lenny. Lenny popped a lifesaver in his mouth, sat on the toilet, and checked his phone for messages and the latest news. As Napoleon famously said, never interrupt your enemy when he is busy defeating himself.